shall remain seated and observe a moment of silence. Standing, yes. 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 Yeah, we will remain standing and observe a moment of silence for about a minute. Thank you. We may be seated. This is the second sitting of the 5th National House of Traditional Leaders convened in terms of Section 8 of the National House of Traditional Leaders Act of 2009, which is Act number 22 of 2009. This session is solely called to debate the President's speech delivered during the annual opening of the National House of Traditional Leaders on the 27th of February 2018. Distinguished guests, I am humbly honored to welcome the first citizen of our country once more, the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency Matamele Cyril Ramaphosa. Mr. President, you are warmly welcomed. Honorable President, please allow me to humble myself as always, and as I welcome Your Majesties that are amongst us. We have Khoshikgolo Yabapedi, Khoshikgolo Kekes Kukune, Hlabirwa Bauba. Igumganikazi Pamakahabe, Igumganikazi Noloyiso Sandile, Noloyiso. By Medi Baba Kwena, Bamupedi, that are amongst us, Reala Morel. I will now proceed to welcome the following distinguished guests amongst our midst, being the chairperson, or in fact the Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Balega Mbete. You are welcome, Mama. And also the chairperson of the NCOP in absentia, who has tendered the apology. She would have loved to be amongst us. Modula Stulo, Wadi Khosi, Botswana, Khosi Gaborone, and your delegation. You are most welcome, Khoshiaka. The Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Honorable Zwelini Mkhize. Thank you. Well, Minister, you are a brand new minister. We have honorable ministers that are here, Minister of Rural Development and Land Reform, Me Maite Nkwana Mashabane. That's my sister. And I'm very excited. Honorable Minister Zulu, Honorable Minister Umthetwa, Okona Lana Ngapakathi. Honorable Minister Ungwinti, that we've worked very closely with. Honorable Minister Ubaba Ukwete Mantashe. My daughter used to say, Khaliba Mantashe. And then we have Ubaba Oanekom, who is amongst us. Nomhlonichwa we Agriculture Ubaba Uzokwana, Deputy Minister Oliphant, and our Honorable Deputy Minister Talibun, Deputy Minister Nell, who is amongst us. You are most welcome, Bahlonishwa. Our veteran Inkosi Ubaba Obutelezi, who is the leader, the IFP, Ndabezit Sheng. We also have Ubaba Mtagane, who is the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, who is amongst us. Inkosi Oholomisa, I have not seen him, who is the Deputy Minister as well. the chairperson of the Independent Commission for the Remuneration of Public Office Bearer, Judge CJ Musi, Deputy Chairperson of the National House of Traditional Leaders, Inkosikazi Mhlauli, Members of Parliament, former Chairperson of the National House of Traditional Leaders, Khosi Suping, le Khosi Maubane, members of the Portfolio and Select Committees present, members of the National House of Traditional Leaders and their spouses, chairpersons of provincial houses of traditional leaders, your deputies, executive committee members, all deputy chairpersons of provincial houses of traditional leaders, president of Contralesa, Khoshi Makhona Mukwena, and your deputy, Khoshi Nyalala Pilani, and the executive of Contralesa, chairperson of the National Cohesion Council, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, heads of representatives of political parties that are present, the Director General of the Department of Traditional Affairs, Ntate Dipufa, and other Director Generals that are present in here, heads of COCTA departments from other provinces. I think with the opening I saw an MEC from Limpopo. I'm not sure if we have other MECs that are present from different provinces, but they are welcome if they are here. We also have in our midst heads of representatives of Chapter 9 institutions, representatives from business, representatives of faith-based organizations and traditional healers, officials, ladies and gentlemen. You are warmly welcomed. Your presence is much appreciated indeed. Honorable President, I must thank you indeed that we requested that ministers be present in this debate, and the House is full of ministers, and we are extremely excited as the institution of traditional leaders. I hear one of Inkosi saying for the first time that we have so many ministers. Can we give them a round of applause? Honorable President, in your speech, you said that the institution of traditional leaders is a bedrock or foundation of constitutional democracy. Therefore, our people look forward to the opening of the House and the debate, and it is therefore imperative that premiers and MECs responsible for the institution of traditional leaders take this event very seriously and attend in future openings and debates of traditional leaders. And we also would want to see full coverage of this procession so that our people can get to know what the president has committed and the line of march that has been given to us as traditional leaders in those areas. We are prepared to lend a hand in changing the lives of our people in rural communities, to be true servants of the people. Hence our endeavor to resuscitate the economy in rural areas through the creation of vehicles that would push through radical socio-economic development in those traditional communities. As I said earlier, Mr. President, this session has been convened to debate the speech that you delivered to the National House on the 27th of February 2018. This debate has been extended to members of provincial houses, the leadership of Contralesa and National Cohesion Council. I will recognize other speakers who are members of houses to join in as the debate. So we will relax the rules of the House so that we allow that to happen. Since the engagement is with the President, the debate will not only focus on what the President has said, but also on a number of issues that are of concern to the institution of traditional leaders. I will now move forward and acknowledge different speakers to address the President. The first speaker would be the Deputy Chairperson of the National House to set the scene for the debate. Nkosikazi Mhlauli, you may take the podium. Thank you.
Enkosi Sihlalo wendlu yenkosi, Nkosi Mahlangu, umongameli welizwe, cabinet yakhe yonke, indwendwe zethu eziphakathi kwethu ezisuka eBotswana eLesotho, ikumkani zethu eziphakathi kwethu esoloko ziphakathi kwethu nangona zingekho zonke namhlanje ngenxa yento kokuba bekungekho lula ukulungiselela ngenxa yotshintsho olukhoyo belithe lwakhona apha elizweni. Amalungu endlu nezipawusi zazo neepartners zabo, iipartners zethu esoloko sisebenza kunye nazo, abahlobo bethu bonke, molweni. Xa kubuliswa kuyavunywa. Senoniwe nto lento ekukhumsha ngoku anisafuni noba nibuliswe ngesiXhosa. Umolo kuthiwa ewe, kuthiwe dumelang, sanibonani, nezinye ke, goeiemorgen. Honorable Chair, it is a pleasure to stand up in this important and honorable House to put across to the President and his team the overview of the institution of traditional leadership. We have traveled a long way, yet we still have some hurdles to cross. We stay focused as an institution that whatever challenges that are put before us, we will overcome them as we did before Asqal. It does not matter how long it takes us. We believe in the saying that it does not matter how you started, but it matters how you ended. Sibalulekile isiphelo kunesiqalo. Mr. President, let me congratulate you for being elected into this position. In our culture, we are saying, ubulewe. Those who elected you did not do so because of your looks, but because of the dedication and commitment you have shown over a number of years. However, you have not directly worked with us as an institution of traditional leaders. Now, the time has come for you to work more closely with us in order to understand the challenges and our achievements. We have a total of 37 houses. Those are provincial houses, including local houses of traditional leaders, and 836 traditional councils. These structures are representing the institution of traditional leadership as a whole. It is therefore critical, Mr. President, for you to understand the complicity of the institution. Mr. President, we believe that since you took over, we have created a spirit of belonging. Our indaba that was held last year, we resolved that government must support structures of traditional leaders, from the Traditional Council to the National House of Traditional Leaders. It does not help anyone to establish a structure for the sake of legal compliance. We need to ensure that these structures are supported and are functional. My colleagues will get into details on those issues. I won't dwell much on them. Mr. President, we have requested a meeting with both the Speaker and the Chairperson of the NCOP to discuss on matters that may be both beneficial to Parliament and ourselves, because we are also there to advise Parliament according to our role or mandate. Of importance is that we are using parliamentary precinct as our chambers, as we are here now. We need to discuss the representation of the National House of Traditional Leaders at the institution of, and the institution of traditional leaders in Parliament. So we need to ensure that some of our traditional leaders are depicted as a part of people who fought for our freedom. Siyayazi into yokubana silwile kaloku ubukhosi bulwile mabucace ngobukhosi babulwile ingabi ngathi bekulwa amaphakathi odwa ubukhosi bulwile. Mr. President, we have been asking for years that our constitution should be amended in order to cater for the powers of traditional leaders. Siyayivakalento roles, so we are talking about powers. We are mindful of the provisions of chapter 9 and chapter 12, but we feel as of now, we only rely on the political party in power. We do not want to see ourselves back in the trenches of negotiations, etc. My colleague is going to dwell on that, much on that one. Social cohesion. Konakele elizweni siyangqinelana nasonke. Kufuneka sakhe ilizwe. We have a number of programs that need support as part of our social cohesion programs. The challenge is that this program is hosted in the Department of Arts and Culture, which even to date, it does not fully come to the party. We understand that thina ngokokuthi ukuqonda u-Arts and Culture City, xa uthetha ngayo uthetha ngathi nabantu bethu. Ngaske ngokule department nokuyicaca into yokuba sisebenzisane ide ibe lapha siyibone sibubukhosi basisebenzisana ingasebenzi yodwa. We cannot claim to be building communities in the country if the department responsible is only focusing on jazz festivals. Sibone i-department yethu sibone kwi-festivals nezinye ke izinto kodwa singayiboni kakuhle apha kwakheni sakhe ilizwe eli. So funa sisebenze sonke. We therefore urge that said functions of social cohesion as well as culture must come back to the Department of Traditional Affairs. My colleague is going to dwell much on that one. Land matters. Ayike wonke umuntu uthetha ngomhlaba ngoku. Sonke sithetha ngomhlaba. Sithi ke thina, the issue of land is very serious and needs careful consideration and attention. Uthe xa kuthethwa ngolu hlobo umhlaba ufuneka uthathwe ngalo mongameli ndacinga into yokokuba kuzawuya ngokwabanamandla ke ngoku ukuya kwezo ndawo zinemihlaba. Ndacinga ngathi singabafazi uba amadoda azawuba namandla okufika emhlabeni thina sishiyeke ngasemva. Sacinga ngabantwana abagcina amakhaya awungazuba lula kubo ukubaleka bona baleka xa kuthatha umhlaba ngexesha ubona sekumiswa ipali pha kumiswa ipali pha ungenamandla wena. Sacinga ngeenkedama ezihleli kade nazo abazali boxuthela umhlaba. Sacinga into ethi ke lento sisithi ufuneka lento siyenzeni ngobunono sibakhumbuze bajonga abantu abanjalo ba senza njani simane sijonga into obana sonke siyakwazi nokubenefita kule nkqubo siza kuyenza ngoba into ebalulekileyo wonke umuntu makafumane. We are not prepared to compromise on this one, umhlaba kesibubukhosi. The land must be returned to their owners without delay. My colleague will dwell much on that one. Our department, I always ask, uba mwana ki mang, mutswadi ki mang, kubani umzali, kubani umntana, phakathi kwe-house ne-department. Because i-department is there, ngenxa yethu thina sizindlu zobukhosi nemibutho yethu esathi mayibe khona i-department ezawujongana nobukhosi. Kodwa intsebenziswano ayibonakalisi njalo. Thina we seem to be a stakeholder se-department yethu lebe sifuna into yoba mayibekho. So we need that to be considered. Our department it must be clear that it is working for us. We must appreciate that we still have a department called the Department of Traditional Affairs. We request that functions that belong to this department be consolidated back to it, as we have mentioned, kukho abantwana bethu bezinye departments. Kamnandi sithetha kakuhle le nto nithe nizawucutha inani labaphathiswa. Kukho abantwana bezinye departments bethu abahleli kwezinye departments njengale sithetha ngayo kwa-Arts and Culture. Bazikhona izinto zethu esifuna zize kude. We are talking here amongst others, the culture department. I've already said that. And we cannot accept that the fact that our department is least funded. xa kuthethwa ngayo kungathi kwenziwa nje ke ukuba obani bakuthiwe iyaphila. Kunzima ukusebenza, is the most least funded. In essence, we cannot agree that the National House of Traditional Leaders have as little as 8 million rands for goods and services. Yonke into ethina siyenza ku 8 million. Ngoba 8 million nje kwabanye iyokudlalisa ugqaphu ukuthenga usausage abantu bagqapha badlala ugqaphu ngayo. Thina sisebenza ngayo 8 million. Kwabanye abantu nje into nje incinci 8 million. Kodwa sijongene ne communities ezingako. This shows how the department and the institution is looked down upon. We ask you to deal with the matter. Abantu ke abadli mazwi. Abantu abayondlu yecawa. Yona iphila ngamazwi. Abantu balinde thina into yokuba baphile baxhomekeke ezinkosini. You always hear abantu uthiwa as hungry as a church mouse. That's what I'm referring to. Ukuthi ke thina ke ngoku as we are talking, we keep on talking and talking. Let's limit now into zokuthetha. Masi implement in whatever we have agreed upon. Ngiyabonga sihlalo.
Enkosi mama, malibongo igama lamakhosikazi. We are serious about transformation, President. This is our deputy. You've got chairpersons of houses, Abangomama in the Free State, Khoshigadi Moroka, in the Northern Cape, Khoshi Toto, in KZN, you have the deputy chairperson, Ungumama. So the process of transformation, we are taking it very seriously as a sector. Before I call upon the second speaker, ngicela ama cell phones, can we put them on silence or switch them off, please? It's a humble plea. I would now request Nkosi Nongonyane to be the second speaker. Ndabezitha.
Chairperson of the National House, Nzonza. Mr. President, our President of the Republic, Your Excellency, and the members of the cabinet here present, including our new minister, Your Majesties, kings and queens of our beloved country, Madam Speaker, and the honorable members of Parliament, Deputy Chairwoman of the National House of Traditional Leaders, Nkosi Nosandi Mhlawuli, and members of the Executive Committee of this mighty House, my President, the President of Contralesa, and the members of the National Executive Committee, the leadership of Khoi and San communities, colleagues, the chairpersons and deputy chairpersons of the provincial houses of South Africa, and honorable members of the House, ladies and gentlemen. I wish, Chairperson, from the very onset, to tender my apology and the apology of the delegation from the Eastern Cape. We will have to leave, unfortunately, early, as we are opening our provincial house tomorrow. For the first and foremost, Mr. President, I join my leaders to thank you very much for giving us the speech that you gave. And also I want to thank the chairperson for giving us the opportunity to participate in this debate. The National House of Traditional Leaders and all of us congratulate you, sir, for having elected unopposed as the President of the Republic of South Africa. There is no doubt in our minds that you enjoy the support of all our people and deserve our unqualified support as tested leader that can be trusted. We wish you well in your tasks as a servant of all the people of South Africa. as we all see positive sign for ukujika kwezinto. Mr. President, the existence of the institution of traditional leadership in South Africa is well known, and it is well nigh irrefutable that this institution existed prior to the arrival of the uninvited colonialists in 1652 in our beloved country. And all governments, like government of the colonialists and apartheid, they come and go, but the institution of traditional leadership exists forever. We are happy that we have stated unequivocally that, and I quote you, the institution of traditional leadership is a bedrock of South Africa's constitutional democracy, close quote. You will recall, Mr. President, that during the constitutional talks with the apartheid regime, Kodesa 1, Kodesa 2 failed was traditional leaders of this country were caused to justify their participation in the constitutional talks. We were later admitted in the constitutional talks through your support and that of our late Kosi Mandela Adelbu. And the negotiating forum was revived, and we agreed on the constitutional principles that were supposed to bind the Constitutional Assembly that we mandated to draft and adopt the final constitution of our beloved country. The interim constitution recognized the powers and functions of the institution of traditional leadership in South Africa. Our powers were curtailed by colonial and apartheid regimes, hence our forebears initiated the struggle for freedom in this country. Mr. President, you will recall that amongst the constitutional principles that were adopted included the following: that the institution of traditional leadership in South Africa will not only be recognized, but will be protected. Secondly, we all agreed that there shall be democratic representation at all spheres of government in this country. And the houses of traditional leaders were not in place, as you know, during the process of drafting and finalizing the Constitution of the Republic. And to our surprise, the Constitution entrenched in the Bill of Rights westernized norms and values in the form of vertical and horizontal application of the individual rights. Hence, criminals have rights and seek refuge in churches, as is evident in Ngobo as I speak. And we were all subjected, our customary law, to the values enshrined in the Constitution. In this way, the repugnancy clause of the Kefa, Bantu, Plural Administration Act of 1927 find expression in our democratic constitution. Furthermore, the Constitution obliterated all the powers of traditional institutions and bestowed such powers to municipalities that were creatures of colonial and apartheid regimes in this country. Chapter 12, the shortest chapter in the entire Constitution, albeit recognizes the institution of traditional leadership, envisaged an enactment of legislation to provide for roles and functions, and not powers, which Parliament passed in the form of Act number 41 of 2003. As a direct result of the Constitution and various laws passed by our Parliament, traditional leaders are caused to be subjects of their subjects in municipal councils, provincial legislatures, and Parliament, with no right to veto. And houses of traditional leaders at all levels have no powers to veto any bylaw or draft bill even delaying power. Hence, they are referred to, quote unquote, toothless bulldogs. Act number 41 of 2003, briefly, Mr. President, does recognize traditional councils as merely provide for roles and not functions. The Act further makes provision for delegations of powers by various departments. I'm happy that our national ministers are here. And although the Act empower various departments to delegate such powers, no department to date has ever delegated any function. Instead, the department want us to assist them in performing functions that are supposed to be performed by us. We were told that these were, quote, low-hanging fruits, unquote, which to us are so near, yet so far away. Call for the amendment of the Constitution, Mr. President. Mr. President, we objected to the certification of the Constitution of the Republic, mainly because on the basis that it was inconsistent with the constitutional principles that I have referred to above. We decided to engage the ANC government, and several meetings were held at both Union Building and Tennis, and the ANC government considered that it erred in not passing legislation in tandem with legislation giving powers and functions to municipalities. We again agreed. We then again agreed that the Constitution will be amended, the laws will be passed to address the unintended mischief. And I may indicate, Mr. President, that the then Deputy President and your predecessor in office was mandated by our government to pilot the necessary amendment of the Constitution. That has not happened, Mr. President. And as you know, Mr. President, last year you did attend our national indaba on these issues. And we were pleased to hear from you that you will support the decision that we reached with our government, with a view that the Constitution needed to be amended so that the traditional leaders continue to have the powers that they are supposed to have in our beloved country. And Mr. President, we hope, in fact, I may indicate, Mr. President, we were assured that within 6 months there will be such amendments. I have not yet been able to calculate, Mr. President, whether 6 months has elapsed, and I hope that in your reply you will deliver good news on this question. There is also another laws, Mr. President, that I need to deal with briefly. The other one is Pluma. I'm happy that several ministers that are here know our position in this regard, that we object to this piece of legislation. Parliament has passed this Act number 16 of 2013 without consultation with structures of traditional leadership in South Africa. In our view, therefore, it was not envisaged that it would be applicable in traditional communities. And as such, we and our communities are totally opposed that it be applied in our areas. We agreed with the government that it would address our concern in this regard. Traditional and Khoisan Leadership Bill. We welcome progress in passing of this piece of legislation, Mr. President, to recognize Khoisan communities and their leaders, as well as government intention to establish a commission to assist it in the recognition process. We hope that the leadership, our colleagues that are concerned, will participate in the process and will not hesitate to assist should it be necessary. And customary initiation bill, we note the intention of the government to pilot the bill, Mr. President. We should, however, caution the government about enacting such a law, albeit mindful of the unfortunate deaths and challenges experienced in recent times in the initiations of mainly boys to manhood. We hope to study the bill and provide our government with the necessary advice. We must, however, make a point crystal clear that the administration of customary initiation vests in traditional leadership and their communities. All we need is restoration of our powers to govern traditional communities and be provided with necessary resources to discharge our responsibility. Lastly, but not means the least, Mr. President, we were inspired by the national hope. Zizojika izinto, bangakhali abantu. Sizibonile izinto zijika eNazareth. Sazibona izinto ziguquka ebuhulumendeni. Sinethemba okokuba ziza kujika izinto nalapha ebukhosini nakwizizwe esiziphetheyo. We consequently expect our government, under your leadership, to amend the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa and all other laws in accordance with the agreements between ourselves, ANC, and the government. No excuse of any kind will be tolerated. It will be in the interest of the ANC to do so before the envisaged elections in 2019. Libamba ngazo zozibini mhlali ngaphambili zisinazidedelana mntana enkosi ndisatshaya.
Enkosi, Nkosi Nongonyane. We will now move on. The next speaker will be Princess G. Moroka Mutsabi. She will talk on social services. Ngwana Kgoshi.
Ke a leboga modulasetulo. His Excellency, Mr. President, Your Majesties and Royal Highnesses, the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Chairperson of the NCOP in absentia, deputies, ministers and deputies present, Batlutlegi botlhe ba bafano, allow me to say all protocol observed. Chairperson, Madiba said, I quote, "As long as poverty, injustice, and gross equality persist in our world, none of us can truly rest," close quote. Mr. President, the future of any nation depends on the type of society it produces. I think traditional leaders are ready, willing, and able, but the environment must be enabling. It has to be enabling. We must understand the role and relevance of this institution in the democratic dispensation, because the unnecessary disregard thereof directly affects the development of our communities and society at large. Under health, traditional leaders are engaged in the Responsible Reproductive Health Education Program. This is a program that aims to empower young girls and boys to understand the importance of making correct health choices. It is a flagship program that is done by the National House in partnership with the University of the Free State and the Princess Khabo Foundation. Chair, this program was also named as a flagship program of the University of the Free State. It is very critical that intervention is made by empowering youth, their families, and the environments, including their schools that they live in, about the critical importance of responsible reproductive health choices. This program aims to reduce teenage pregnancies, as well as sexually transmitted infections, thus reducing the spread of the pandemic of HIV and AIDS. To date, we can safely report that more than 2,000 learners between the ages of 14 and 18 within the Mangaung Metro Municipality have benefited from this program. It is also a well-known fact that for one to remain healthy, he or she must eat healthy. Traditional leaders, through the National House of Traditional Leaders, have started the project of food security in many areas under their jurisdictions. Though food security is based on small-scale farming, we believe that as we grow and are supported by government, members of our communities will ultimately become farmers of note, but I think more importantly, increase or become more healthier and therefore increasing our life expectancy. Partnerships are also key in ensuring that traditional leaders develop our communities to be more self-sufficient. The World Vision is one of our partners in the fight against the scourge of HIV and AIDS. Traditional leaders have received training from World Vision and are now implementing what they've learned within their communities. Mr. President, we support the fight against HIV and AIDS by scaling up testing and treatment campaigns. The implementation of the National Health Insurance, NHI, should be fast-tracked to ensure that all people have access to essential health care. This will come as a relief to the millions of people who are excluded from the high-quality health care. Mr. President, people in our communities continue to experience discrimination in our health care system. Most of the clinics in our villages do not stay open for 24 hours. Community members who require medical attention at night have to live with their medical condition until the following day when the clinics open. We request that government engages with traditional leaders to find a solution with limited financial resources. We urge for adequate cooperation, support, political will, and understanding that traditional leadership, amongst other things, is there to complement government, enabling it to function optimally. The issue of social grants, Mr. President, we welcome the assurance that you gave that there will be no disruption to the efficient delivery of social grants. The beneficiaries of social grants will not experience deductions from the grants by loan sharks. We urge you, sir, to please intervene, because otherwise the loan sharks are finishing the grants before they even benefit the intended people. We must take note that a quarter of the beneficiaries of social grants reside in our communities, which are rural communities. We therefore request government to explore promotion of solidarity economy, wherein the beneficiaries of social grants are encouraged to spend their grants within their own villages, to ensure that there is a circulation of money within those villages in order to create jobs. We appreciate your commitment, Mr. President, in ensuring that grant beneficiaries indeed support themselves with the grant that government is giving to them. We must as well caution against creating a community or a nation that is dependent on social grants. In concluding my submission, Mr. President, as we celebrate the centenary of one of our elders, Nkosi Dalibunga, it is important to leave you with his words. I quote, "No single person can liberate a country. You can only liberate a country if you act as a collective." I close quote. Mme jaaka Motswana morolong o seleka. Rona Batswana re a re kgetsi ya tsie e kgona ka go tshwaraganelwa. Mme re teng jaaka bogosi moetapele. We ask you to work with us. We ask you to work with us. We ask you, Mr. President, to work with us to change the lives of our people. We are here to help you carry these responsibilities, but you need to help us to help you. I thank you.
I will now call upon Khosi Mabe Khambakgolo to speak on economic development. Thank you.
Tlaki tse tšhono ke go leboge modula stilo wa ntlo ya rona ya bosetšhaba. Ke tse tšhono ke dumedise mopresidente wa naga ebile ke mokgakole mo bekeng. Ke dumedise speaker sa rona sa parlamente. Ke dumedise matona a rona a puso ga mmogo le batlatsa ba ditona. Ke dumedise magosi a rona ba ba leng teng gompieno, baeng ba botlhe ba ba laleditsweng le ba tota ba utlwileng ka menyenyetsi. Let me take this opportunity, Mr. President, to relay to you our experience and also probably our wish in terms of the economic development or even the development of our country in general. We are of the view that South Africa is a developmental state. And therefore, where markets fail, we trust that government must intervene. The developmental agenda of the state must be inclusive, especially in promoting and sustaining rural economy and rural development. And we are also of the view that we will not separate the rural economy from the economy of the rest of the country. We also want to realize the spillovers of the booming economy of our country so that it can be felt even in the periphery of this beloved country. We must also be mindful of the fact that creation of wealth and employment opportunities come as a byproduct of general infrastructure and broader social development. The biased rural infrastructure massification is therefore unavoidable in order to bring balance and sustenance in South African economy. If one province has a booming economy, all of us will flock to that particular province and create a burden or even stress the resources in a particular province. If the economy is shared throughout the country, obviously, then we will have a healthy society throughout our country. We will welcome, Mr. President, the participation of the institution in the envisaged Job Summit and also investment conference. So as the institution wants to be part of an attempt to build the economy of our country, and our involvement will echo the sentiments of our rural masses. The rural economy or general rural development will assist in realization of the goals of NDP, even though when you listen to people that are normally being called as political analysts, economic experts, and so on, they will come up with critical analysis of the NDP. But because as an institution, which are not schooled, which are not having enough information, we may tend to believe the so-called expert analysis. Because some of them are saying an NDP is not a policy, it's just a wish list of our government. The National Development Plan as a blueprint towards 2030 developmental goals need to be internalized by the institution so as to achieve uniformity in jacking up our communities towards realization of such goals. The rural communities must also be taken on board so as we will need their consensus to effect some common objectives. We will then have to be schooled on the modus operandi of implementing the NDP doables. And we hope that the office of the President, which is strategically situated through the NPC, that is the National Planning Commission, must hit the ground running to take us on board so that we can be of assistance in bringing the aspirations of our people. Especially when you look into the Chapter 6 of the NDP, which deals with an integrated and inclusive rural economy, and also Chapter 13, which deals with building a capable developmental state. In Chapter 6, we are looking at that for the maximization of value chains in rural economy, and this should be a comprehensive profiling of our rural area so that there should be an understanding on which areas can yield or which can jack up the economy. And it also being acknowledged in the document of NDP that little is known of economic spillovers of mining and other industrial activities in rural areas. So therefore, we are appealing that a comprehensive profiling of our rural areas be made so that we can know what to offer and where areas are stressed. In Chapter 13, which also deals with our SOEs, that is our state-owned enterprises, which of course it will not be palatable to talk about the status of our SOE as I'm standing here today. But we are encouraged by the fact that the Tuma Mena train has disembarked at the doors of these SOEs. And we hope and trust that everything will be sorted. We consider them very strategic to carry the mandate of resuscitating rural economy. The other state financial agencies also can be roped in to assist to remove the poverty, underdevelopment of our rural communities. The agencies like IDC, PIC, and many others that are there. The mandate of these agencies should be biased towards rural economies because others are still virgin. They have not yet been developed. Mr. President, there is a fundamental aid to development, and that is infrastructure. Infrastructure is essential for economy to function and also social mobility. We will talk about agriculture and many other endeavors, but as long as the infrastructure that exists is unable to carry such development, then we will not realize the objectives we are talking about. Infrastructure development, all will agree, will bring magic in our economy, will reduce transportation costs and many other stressful conditions that will make our economy not to boom. They should not be left in the periphery when we come and develop that infrastructure, because that is very key in developing the rural economies. For argument's sake, Mr. President, where we develop a national road, and when it has to go through a rural area, it is diverted. Instead of going through that area, it goes through a wilderness in order to avoid those communities. We hope that these are the things that can be able to assist rural economies to develop. Connectivity. Mr. President, you talk about the data cost. In the rural area, is double the cost. Because if data is expensive, when I buy it in a rural area, it is very slow. Obviously, then I will consume twice the other person in urban area will consume. Therefore, it is double the cost of what the urban person will have. And now, in this digital migration, where we use internet services to make business and to connect with other communities and the outside world, we will need it. Now, as I said, the SOE intervention, we had hoped that the telecom as a SOE could have been used to intervene in this regard. Whether it's still in existence or not, I will not be able to tell. But we hope that once they have been fixed, those are the mandates that they will be given in order to bring faster development in our areas. An inclusive economy. Mr. President, we appeal to you that any endeavor by the institution to resuscitate or to get involved in uplifting the institution should be supported and also should be assisted either with the expertise or also with some resources. I'm referring to the endeavors by the National House to have formed the URKH. We hope and trust that the management of the National House will be able to take the President in confidence to explain the inception, the objective of such an initiative. It's a good initiative. Once it can be supported, it can take us further. These are some of the issues that we appeal to our government to assist, so that at the end of the day, we have a uniform economic upliftment of our country. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Khampa. We will now move on to the next speaker, being Inkosi Udokotela Upiti Zulu, who is going to start the debate on social cohesion and nation building.
Angbonge Sihlalo wamakhosi, His Excellency the President, Ministers and Deputy Ministers, and it's safe to say all protocol is observed. His Excellency, Mr. President, social cohesion and national building programs are to rebuild traditional communities towards a healthy, caring and harmonious societies guided by the human values with particular reference to communal, spiritual and socio-economic development. The main objective is to revive morality. Mr. President, the government made a call for the promotion of ethical behavior congruent with the positive values. The moral panics in the media about the level of social ills necessitate communities to revive interest on issues of morality. This requires support from the government and relevant stakeholders. Promotion of social cohesion, nation building, and national identity remains firmly on the government's agenda. The government has to support programs by traditional leaders that focuses on rebuilding the family and community values. Protection of culture, heritage, and retrieval of diminished and diminishing heritages. Hosting national mosaic of cultural festivals, which will be a huge national showcase of the rich cultural tapestry, attracting all groups to display their cultural endowments. The principle of I am, we are, must be enforced among traditional communities. A language is a transmission of a culture. His Excellency, the role of culture, religion, language, and economy are inextricably bound, as they have potential in properly meditated to contribute significantly in the birth of a new nation on the foundation of its unity. High levels of poverty and unemployment remain the contributing factors to the decrease of moral fiber. Collaboration between government and traditional institutions is very vital in promoting social cohesion and national building. Traditional leaders need to be aware of the social ills in their various traditional communities. For example, as my colleague has said, Inkosi Nonkwanyana spoke of the church in Ngobo. That cult is not allowed at all. Human trafficking is another thing that is very, very, very disturbing our communities. Integration of ex-offenders back into communities is another problem. Mr. President, we appreciate that there are developments with the traditional Khoi and San bill or the framework. The implementation of Section 81 is still a problem in other provinces and other districts. So that also needs attention, so that if we talk of the national building, then we are sure that is going to be happening in our areas. Traditional leaders and government need to work together in eliminating cultural practices that violate the legislative rights of women and children. For example, if you go to KwaZulu-Natal, there are areas where older men tend to kidnap young girls in the name of culture, and they say, "Baya twala." So we don't allow that. And another thing that we need to put in your attention, in one of the areas, again in KZN, there's an area where kukhona abantu who call themselves amazimzim and badla bantu. So these are the things that we need to work together with the government in trying to work on them and in trying to solve them. Culture is one of the critical aspects that we are proud of as traditional leaders. We cannot sit back and watch the culture. We cannot sit back and watch culture upset by unscrupulous people who have bad intentions. We appreciate the bill that is in front of the parliament, or which is introduced in parliament. The critical worry is that it will take time, Mr. President, to be approved in parliament. We have an experience of the traditional courts bill as well as the traditional core and sign leadership bill that took some time. Parliament has taken time in acting on these two bills that were introduced. We'll be having them now as part of our stature. We are proud of our initiation custom and we are very protective of it. Much as we appreciate it, we have noted the harm it has done in our members, in our communities. We have formed governance committees in our areas or in our provinces to monitor and intervene as when there are challenges that are happening there. We have further integrated health department in the custom as part of our intervention. We are not winning the battle because of the lack of legislation. We urge you, Mr. President, that our new minister, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, to please intervene and make sure that the bill is tabled in parliament and the speaker prioritizes it. Another thing that I need to speak about, Mr. President, is cultural tourism. Cultural tourism is one of the aspects that we have been crying for. We have heritage sites that needs development and promotion. The Department of Tourism seems to be very far from the institution of traditional leaders. It is not assisting in ensuring that these identified sites are developed and put on the map of tourists. There are many cultural activities that are taking place in our traditional communities, like Musando, Bear Feast, fighting, and Ingoma traditional dance. I'm going to stop here, Mr. President, so that my colleague Inkosi Ndovi can continue on issues of culture. Thank you.
Siyabonga Dokotela Nkosi Ndevu.
Inkosi mhlali ngaphambili walendlu, ndibulise uhloniphekileyo umongameli welizwe, ndimbulise nesigqeba sakhe sonke siphelele, ndibulise amalungu eParliament aphakathi kwethu, abantwana begazi abangamalungu endlu yenkosi bonke abakhoyo nabalingane babo, ndibulise amagosa orhulumente ngokukhokelwa nguDirector General wesebe lesikulo, ndibulise bonke abantu abakhoyo, iKhoi and the San communities, ngokohluka kwezizwana abasuka kuzo, amaxu, amakwe, ngokunjalo namanama, namaxama. Ndiyanibulisa nonke kule ndlu namhlanje. Mhlali ngaphambili andizuba mde kuba ugxa wam sekhavalishe indima enkulu. Naw ndixolela ke ndiyakucela into yoba ababhemi abafana oba uHara neNkomo aba bafake into zifakwe endlebeni ngoba ndizawuwela inxiba mna. Mongameli, into ephambili thina njengenkosi esicinga bafana uba yenye yezinto ezizokuncedisa kule nto ye-culture and tourism yinto yokokuba mhlawumbi kulaa makomkhulu ngakumbi lawe Kumkani kwakhiwe eza cultural villages, ngoba sinenkolo yokuba uba kwii-cultural villages phaa kumakomkhulu ezikumkani ngelinye ixesha inganceda loo nto kuphuhliso lwe-cultural tourism kukhule noqoqosho kwezaa ndawo abantu bahlala kuzo. Kanti kunjalo sinawo umdla wokokuba kule nto inento kwenza nokuba kuqokelelwe zonke ezi entities ezinento kwenza nenkcubeko, amasiko nezithethe nokuphuculwa kweelwimi zethu ziqokelelwe ndaweninye, kuba sikholelwa into yokokuba zizinto ebekufanele uba zikwimicimbi yobukhosi ezo. Ayisincedisi thina into yokubona into yoba i-heritage ikwenye indawo, i-cultural activities kwenye indawo, kuthi uba ngabana kufika i-24 kaSeptemba kwenziwa i-Heritage Day celebrations ufumane bekwenye indawo kanti abanikazi bezo zinto ziinkosi ngokunokwazo. Sinawo ke lo mdla uthi ezi zinto zinento kwenza nobukhosi maziqokelwe endaweninye, zibe sendaweni enye, zibe kwibhaskethi enye, zirisoswe kulaa ndawo zikuyo kwenza uba zikwazi ukumelana nomsebenzi wazo. Ndicinga uba kuba kungenzeka loo nto singancedakala, but ndiye kule nto yolwaluko. Sinengxaki apha mongameli kule nto yolwaluko lamakhwenkwe ukusuka inkwenkwe xa iwelele ebudodeni. Lisiko lethu thina abantu bamnyama ngakumbi thina amaXhosa nezinye izizwe le nto yolwaluko esizidlayo ngayo. Now sibukela intlonti ke ngoku lana apha yabantu abathanda imali. Abanye babo benze imifanekiso bhanyabhanya efana nalo besanda kuwewula siunyemba siwuthuka kuthiwa linxeba the wound. Ufumanisa into yoba ngenxa yokokuba sibonwa njengesizwe esingazinzanga kuzawudlalwa ngezinto ekuzezethu nesizidlayo ngazo. Siyavuya ke into yoba sikwazile ukuliphumelela eli dabi lokokuba siwewule lo mdlalo bhanyabhanya kuthiwa linxeba. Umke uphumuphele kwiisinema zethu uyobonwa ke njengepornography ngabantu bafuna ubona bucala pha. Siyazikhwabela ke ngaloo nto kuba ibe ngumsebenzi wethu sizinkosi lowo nezizwe zethu. Kukho abantu bakuthi abayithandayo inkcubeko namasiko abo basincedisile ke ekwenzeni into yoba lo mboniso bhanyabhanya uphele. Naw kodwa ke ndiyafuna kwakhona mhlali ngaphambili okokuba kwezinye izinto mongameli esicinga bafanele basezinkosi singancedisa kuzo kukuncedisa eku-identifying i-heritage sites, ngakumbi nangakumbi i-heritage sites ezifana ne-Gallant Heroes, iikumkani zethu ezifana nokumkani uSikhukhune, ezifana nokumkani uNyabela, ezifana nokumkani uSarhili, ezifana nokumkani uHintsa, ezifana noNkosi uMaqoma. Ngoba sithi mongameli ukulwelwa komzabalazo wokubiwa komhlaba kwelizwe awuqalanga ngo-1912. Uqalwe ziikumkani neenkosi ngokunokwazo kuba oqhina kaMqhonono bafike apha babona ilizwe elihle, babona into yoba basidudulele ezikoneni. Imfazwe yokulwelwa kwelizwe nomhlaba kayiqalanga ngo-1912, iqale way before 1912. Kukho abantu abawela kwezo mfazwe esithi uba ngabana iziseko zobukhosi zinika ithuba lokuba zi-identifye ezo sites, izawuba into le ezakwenza sikwazi ukuphuthuma ilizwe lethu kakuhle ngendlela elafuduka ngayo, lifuduswa ngabohlanga. Siyacela ke apha into yokokuba njengendlu yenkosi, njengabantu abaziwayo into yoba sizi-custodians ze-culture and heritage nezinye ke izinto ezihamba nenkcubeko neelwimi zethu, noko masiwanikwe la magunya ahambisana nezinto zokwenza, which is i-resources, zokokuba ezi zinto zinento kwenza neenkcubeko zethu, iilwimi zethu, sikwazi ukusebenza kuzo, sincedise urhulumente. Ngoba iinjongo zethu ayikokukhompyutha norhulumente but kukuncedisa urhulumente kuba siyayazi uba urhulumente lomntu omtsundu eMzantsi Afrika luqala kanye kwiziseko zobukhosi nezikumkani kwezi ndawo sikuzo. Ngaloo mazwi ke mhlali ngaphambili ndizawuthi xa ndiyeka ndithi siyacela mongameli mayirisoswe indlu yenkosi uqala kuzwelonke uyophuma kwi-local houses nasemaphondweni. Silwe eli hlazo sityatye kwalona lokuba soyiswa kukukhusela ukufa kwabantwana emabhumeni. Ayisoyisi mhlali ngaphambili nawe mongameli loo nto. Into enayo asinikwa izixhobo zokusebenza ukwenza into yoba le nto mayingenzeki. Seside zithathwa itshansi ngoonobhizinesi nje kwenziwe imiboniso bhanyabhanya ngomcimbi wolwaluko, into yoba iinkosi zinqunyulwe izandla ekubeni zikwazi ukuncedisa, zibe neeprogram ezicacileyo ekukhuseleni ukufa kwabantwana ebhumeni. Ngaloo mazwi ke mhlali ngaphambili mongameli welizwe ndiyabulela kakhulu, ndisitsho ndisithi sikuthembile mongameli, futhi andifuni nokuba ndithi sizinkosi sifuna ukungcwalisa ngento ethi mhlawumbi uza kwenza umohluko, kodwa sifuna ukuthetha kwento ethi kudala ezi zinto zimileyo zobukhosi sizithetha, kodwa ke ngoku sinethemba loba wena uzawukwazi uziqhubela phambili. Inkosi kakhulu.
Chairperson, excuse me, just on a point of order,
Okay.
we have no translation here and we cannot understand. I cannot just sit here and not understand what's happening. Otherwise, I can just excuse myself. If they can just fix the translation. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Okay, can we have somebody that can assist in that regard in terms of translation? Can we now have the next speaker, Inkosi Ngonyama, Mama Malibongo?
Your Majesties, His Excellency the President Cyril Ramaphosa, the Speaker of the National Assembly, our newly appointed Minister, Zet Mkhize, the Chairperson of the National House of Traditional Leaders, Nkosi Mahlangu, the Deputy Chairperson of the National House of Traditional Leaders, Mamno Sandi Mhlauli, the first woman traditional leader to hold the highest position since the inception of the House, Ano Sandi. We have to applaud this milestone. The chairpersons and deputy chairpersons of provincial houses, the ministers and deputy ministers, the members of the National House, the President of Contralesa, the leadership of the Khoisan Council, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, I greet you all in the name of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Mr. President, in closing remarks of your speech during the opening of our house, you said we are setting South Africa on a new course of development, unity and enduring peace. Indeed, let us set the South Africa on a new course and address the challenges of education and come up with possible solutions. This therefore requires us to look back and reflect, identify the challenges, ask ourselves what went wrong and how do we correct the mistakes. Nkosi Dalipunga Nelson Mandela said, I quote, "Education is the most powerful weapon for changing the world," close quote. Mr. President, as traditional leaders, we have noticed with burdened hearts the plight of a South African child, more so a rural child. This is manifested in children between ages of 3 to 6 years who are found homebound and wanting during school hours because their ages are rejected from normal schools. The only time they experience use of stationery such as books, pens, pencils, worksheets, even classroom instruction is when they are around ages 7. Or in the worst case scenarios, they are aged 8 because there are no early childhood development centers in their areas. A few who manage to make hesitant entry to schools do so with great sense of inadequacy to handle the demands of curriculum. Even these ones are exposed to absolutely none or very few relevant resources to sustain current knowledge necessary for effective teaching and learning. In these rural schools, there are no computers/laptops, no televisions, no libraries or library corners. Where the above items have been donated to a chosen few schools, there's another challenge of lack of skills to use them. There are schools that have computers which are now laid with dust due to non-use because there are no skilled teachers. It is disheartening observation for a literate parent residing in an urban settlement to see a rural child's reaction of absolute awe and wonder as they most probably sees for the first time what would otherwise be a common gadget for day-to-day use in the hands of an urban child. Games from PlayStations, Samsung iPhones, tablets are a dream only made real when the children of the elite or middle-class community members converge in their rural settlements during long school holidays. The education system across the board and in all the bands have introduced the use of computers for continuous research work and lifelong learning. Unfortunately, the curriculum gaps open during the elementary stages up to university entry levels, as reflected in the rural setting, have a direct negative impact and subsequently a lifetime sabotage to professional development and any other venture for future achievement in the life of a rural child. No university caters for these background shortfalls and curriculum gaps. The standard is the same for all university work, whether a child has matriculated in a rural school, Model C school, or IB educational institutions. Tasks, assignments, projects, and the entire research work require computer literacy and skills. The battle with rural children seems endless because from a hard-earned matric certificate under such compelling circumstances, it becomes yet another battle to keep up with the university standards and faculty demands. The obvious results are either having an extra year or two to complete the degree, as they had to try hard to compensate for curriculum gaps, or ultimately drop out and seek for a quick solution to earn a living. I must say, when it comes to education, a gift of choice is the most important gift, more so when you have got all the means to choose which school to go to, unlike millions of rural children who do not have such privilege of choosing schools. As the matter stands, I strongly believe that each child will choose to go to an independent education board schools. Truth being told, ezika education izidumbu zihamba ngenyawo, zihleli phakathi kwethu, njengokuba ezika health zisemotuary nakwi-graveyards. Most of our children have become a social problem, hanging out in taverns, taking all sorts of drugs, committing all sorts of crime. They are indeed a social problem. The system has ejected them. When talking about the issue of education, one is to reflect on pre-1994 and post-1994. It is so glaring that the quality of education pre-1994 was far better than what is offered post-1994. People who are referred to as royal readers are far better than our children. The reason is due to the fact that, bad as the education was, the standards set were very high. We would be doing an injustice if we don't applaud the decision taken by our beloved government by introducing free education to children whose parents earn below a certain threshold. However, the 30% pass rate that was approved by our government department leaves so much to be desired. Siyalazi balika nongqawuse ukuba phaya ko-1856 to 1857 wayalela abantu bababulala inkomo zabo kunye nezityalo. Imbali ithi kwafa abantu abaninzi ngenxa yokulahlekiswa nongqawuse. Can you not say that a child who gets to school for the whole year, yet she is expected to know just 30% of the work, is not to kill that child? This is unongqawuse, but having taken another form. Mr. President, in your speech you said TVET colleges and other training institutions in rural areas should be improved and be properly resourced. We fully agree, and wish to propose that introduction of entrepreneur subjects should be considered. Reintroduction of agriculture and needlework should also be considered. The stature and the pedigree of any nation is measured by the quality of its young and upcoming population referred to as youth. It is this layer of population, nation across the globe, which is the backbone of the future and destiny of the nation. This therefore means that the destiny and future of any nation solely depends on the investment it has put onto the present generation in order to enjoy future dividends from the same. My humble plea, let us acknowledge that our current education system will definitely not produce the so-called required dividends. In 2017, in the Eastern Cape, I'm from Umtata, kwiLali Sempunzana. In the Eastern Cape, a group of learners in 2006, a total number of 223 started their journey of education by enrolling for grade 1. In 2017, only 83,968 students set for their grade 12 examination. This translates to 32.2%, the children who reached the finish line. 176,255, which translates to 67.7%, disappeared along the way. This is a scary picture. If one thinks about high levels of illiteracy, translating to unemployment and poverty, ultimately filling up prisons, another state burden and social security net, this has to be looked into. Bayamita endleleni, basezijele ngabantwana bethu because of the problem of education. Mr. President, in your State of the Nation address you said, I quote, As we enter the new era, we are determined to build on these achievements, confront the challenges we face, and accelerate progress in building a more prosperous and equitable society, close quote. Achievements translate to free education that we have to applaud. Challenges translates to quality of education we offer our children, the 30% opasa. Hayi uyaniphambanisa mhlekazi. We translate the prosperous and equitable society by investing in our children's education, thus affording them an opportunity of being self-supportive through quality education. In conclusion, we propose that an education summit should be convened where we'll deliberate on the challenges facing our education, come up with possible solutions like looking into education models practiced in South Korea. Let us not turn education into a political solution. It should rather be a social solution. We celebrate the 75.1% pass rate of the year 2017 with mixed feelings because of the fact that most of the children leave the school only knowing 30% of the work. Where will they get to know the 70%? It's a question that should be addressed and be deliberated at length during the proposed education indaba. We will have to address during that indaba infrastructure issues. There are schools in South Africa where children doesn't go to school during rainy days because there are no bridges to cross. The buildings are in such a dilapidated conditions that you would think twice of taking your child to the school because you don't know whether the building is going to collapse on the children. The establishment of school for the children of the royal families is a must. Mr. President, we cannot afford not to echo your words to Martina. We are lending a hand of supporting whatever endeavors the government intends to bring to our rural communities. Let us work together, strategize together, and seek to get to a point where education standards will be set at 65 to 70% and be easily achieved by our children. I thank you.
Thank you, Malibongwe. I will now call Hosin Tsanwisi to talk about functionality of traditional leadership structures and capacity of the institution. Thank you.
Inkomu mthamu wa xitulu, Ndaba Honorable President Timachero. My colleagues have dispensed with greetings. In the past, I would have said they have dispensed with the praise singing. The old order changeth, yielding place to new, and God fulfills himself in many ways, lest one good custom corrupt the whole world. In history, one thing, namely change, is constant. However magnificent and worthy an institution might have been, it is only appropriate in God's divine plan that it should pass away and give way to newer institutions, because any institution which lives on and on will only become irrelevant and thus harmful to society. Ngauralo ndamba uri zukamulanga wa mudzimu hore ube na chanduko kamusware na wa Africa Chipembe. The change is that God's divine plan can only be for the good of our country. Zifanele uri tanganedze chanduko hei riva hone. For the cultural identity of communities and traditional authorities, we request the government in all structures, from ward councillors through to the national office, should ensure that dignity of traditional leaders is restored through the provision of equitable support. Government should ensure that active participation of traditional leaders is in processes of legislative framework. There should be constant engagement with the Remuneration Commission for Public Office Bearers to review the remuneration structures to ensure that traditional leaders perform their functions effectively. Chilinda Muhuyu, Chilinda Chichila. The provision of tools of trade is quite slow. We do not see any reason why our request does not receive the attention we believe it should. We hope that the new beginning has gotten rid of incompetent ministers, such that there will be no further delays in processing our requests. The lack of action has fueled demands for a more radical approach that you, as the new leadership of the ANC and the government, cannot ignore. We further request an integrated induction of programs for traditional leaders and municipal councillors so as to strengthen intergovernmental relations and to affirm the role of traditional leaders in the development initiatives. We too, Honorable President, we want to lend a hand. It is important to mention that the National House of Traditional Leaders has established a foundation that works towards the development of traditional communities. We have further established a company that will source funding for the foundation to develop. We therefore request your business acumen to enhance this development. We do not envy you because you have to choose carefully the priorities that will have to deliver maximum impact over a short period. We therefore say we want to be there when the people start to turn it around. Send us, irume, situme, rirume, steer ons, kabarirume. We wish you Godspeed. Inkomo holobyenkulu, mintiro ayivulavuli.
Inkomo, Hosi. I would now request Khoshi Dikhale to speak on agriculture and rural development. Khoshiaka, Mugoni.
Tobel, thank you very much, Khoshiaka, Khoshi Matlangu, Chairperson. Let me take this opportunity to greet the President, Ministara Baba Bengona, Magoshi Kholo, Baba Bengona Mobakitagoni, Kiababona, Khoshiaka, Khoshi Kholo, Tulare Ababu, Khoshi Kholo, KK, Tabirwa Wabauba, Magoshiaka, the chairperson Jagojwa, the province in Fapana, Le Maluko, a National House of Traditional Leaders, Magoshi, Baobajaro, Narinya, Otswana, the member Raja, Chapter 9, institutions, Professor Musoma, Metupana, Demarcation Board, the members of Parliament, leader Makoisana, Mr. Lefleur. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to come and say some words in this debate. I'm very much thankful that the President gave us this opportunity, and he made it to be so close to his giving of the address in the National House of Traditional Leaders. My topic is expropriation of land. The question that came is that some said, when you talk about this expropriation of land, do you want to scare the banks away? And the answer is no. Some said, do you want the rent to be weaker? The answer is no. We want to get the land because the land belongs to the people. I must first give you these numbers before I can give reasons why we support expropriation of land without compensation. In South Africa, we have approximately 4.4 million whites who are owning 72% of the land. What an unfortunate number. We have Indians, 1.4 million, who are having 16%. And the coloreds, 4.9 million, 5%. We found ourselves at the tail of this numbering, but the number is 45.6 million blacks at an unfortunate 4%. So that is why I'm saying we don't have any other reason except to say, let's get the land. Mr. Lefleur will say, ons moet die land terug kry. I think that's what he will say. The traditional leaders, most of us are bordered by different farms. Minister of Rural Development, Me Mashabane, will feel the pain if I can talk about the head of Kgoshi Makgoba at Makgoba's Kloof. Yes, Saleji wa ke batho. Thogo ya Kgoshi e Saleji wa ke batho because of the land. So if today you can go to them and say, let's wait and calculate how we can take this land, they will cry heartily. King Yagamo, Tabirwa, Kgoshi Kgolo wa Bapedi. Her ka bolela ka naga ya ba se ba le yona, mara bekas for gona le di mine di ka mo ba epang platinum a go fela ka monkgo le role a ka shipa ka megogo. He will cry heartily. Definitely, I don't want to go to that extent. He's an old man. I don't want to see him crying heartily because of the land that we are still waiting for. Mr. President, we support this move that land be expropriated and we get our pieces of land back. And we don't want to scare anybody away. We don't want to scare anybody away from the country of our birth. But if one can start talking about annexation, you will feel I'm talking about a very bad and different animal. In expropriation, your land is taken without talking to you. And later, your language is changed to the language of a foreigner. And then you become frustrated. So that is why we'll go to an extent of saying expropriation of the land without compensation is the right way to go. We only have 13% as the rural people. 13% only as the rural people. And with the 13% that we have, we are saying, let it be transferred to the traditional communities. Some did not understand this. Hoshiaga talked about some experts. When they talk about this, they say, traditional leaders want to own the land. No, that's not the case. Traditional leaders are saying, let the land be given to traditional communities, leaders being traditional leaders. We don't say, give it to us, we want to pocket it and go to America. We're not saying that. Give the land to the traditional communities. We want to keep this land for the traditional communities. If we can talk about those people in District 6, really, they can tear me into pieces if I can talk something else. They will tear me into pieces, really. But beyond this, we are saying we are still interested in getting the claims that we have made before. Those that we made in 1995, they are moving at a snail's pace. And that is really giving us land. But if you can have land, the president rightly said, agriculture is one of the things that can address unemployment without hesitation. In agriculture, most of the people can be assisted.
Precisely.
There's been a public outcry about the VAT increase, the first in 25 years. Cabinet.
Part of what we would be doing